And good morning and welcome to Nature Watch. Nature Watch is sponsored by Waddell's Nursery, Floral, Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Mellom Road. And now your host of Nature Watch, Gary Miller. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How is ya?
A little foggy.
and a little bit cold. I had to. In lieu of the scraper, I just went with the old-fashioned, let's just run the windshield wiper fluid as we... I
did that last Saturday. Today I just actually started the truck up a little early so it'd warm up a little bit. So
right.
It'd come off. Spots of heavy, dense fog out there, though.
Yeah.
Get some of the bodies of water in that. Just dense fog. The first batch I came through, I was just coming through it, and I was thinking, oh, good, I can actually see a distance. That was after I'd seen a couple of deer in the foggy areas, and it went slower than I was planning in.
Right.
Come out of the fog, and there's two trains going in opposite directions in front of me, so I had to wait for the trains.
You made it fabulously.
In time.
You didn't speed, did you?
No, I did not. I went with the flow of traffic. Let me put it that way.
I was armed and ready just in case I had to start the show by myself. I was good. Okay. I did that fine.
Yeah, so actually, and then a couple other bouts. Actually, on 131, there's a couple of spots just north of Schoolcraft there by Gordon Neck Lake, really dense fog. So if you're out there driving, make sure you have your lights on, because it's hard to see, and that gives at least a warning to other drivers or the deer that are waiting to cross the road.
Right.
So last night I was going home from work, and I was almost home, a couple miles from the house, and there was a very large buck with a very large rack of antlers standing at the side of the road. And so I slowed down and actually came to a stop because I didn't want him to run out in front of me.
Right.
I've had that happen before.
Yeah.
And I got to a stop, and he looked at me very regally, crossed the road very slowly. So I'm like, okay, keep going. Obviously, there wasn't any hunters in that area right there.
Right.
There's actually somebody that usually hunts near there, and they weren't there last night. So
No.
they're probably at a football game. And so whoever hunts somewhere around Bloody Run between Schoolcraft and Vicksburg, where you usually bow hunt, the big buck crossed right where you park your car.
There's a clue. There is a clue. Oh, dear hunter, you have a clue from Gary as to where to find the big antlered buck.
There's a lot of them
you
out
go.
there.
Yeah.
Actually, I go just about half a mile from my house, and I look out across the fields because the fields have been harvested already. And right at the edge of the woods is another large buck. And he started to stand. A little bit of sunlight's catching him because it's sort of part cloudy, but enough sunlight there. And just standing there at the edge of the road, very regally looking over his domain there, looking around the fields, and also looking probably, oh gosh, there's no hunters out here right now in this area. I can just mose along here. So.
A word to the deer, if we have any deer listening and you're by US 131 in Schoolcraft, you might want to look both ways because there are no more traffic snarls. All lanes are open. Just wanted to say that.
There's a lot of deer out there. I actually at another spot, there was some deer in the foggy area. It was actually a half-grown fawn that was standing at the edge of the road. I think he had just crossed the road before I came up on him and just sort of looked at me, and I was glad they didn't run back across the roads. So.
Now, with the later sun rises, but even though we're going to drift back an hour starting tomorrow.
So you get an extra hour tomorrow.
Yeah.
Extra hour of sleep or extra hour to do things.
I want to bring something up that Ken mentioned a couple of shows ago this week. But yeah, with the later sun rises and the deer are moving, you want to take your time if you're out, right at dawn.
They're moving just about any time of day, especially when you get dawn and dusk. Within an hour or two of each. I've seen them in the morning, at night, maybe actually, even an hour or two after dusk and sunset. I've seen them moving around.
Okay.
So they're moving a lot.
Now, Ken Lamphere was promoting the fact that we're going back to Eastern Standard Time as of Sunday morning, tomorrow morning, 2 a.m. And he said, does anybody really sleep that off? Ken? Yes, I do. I not only do I sleep it, I take a couple extra hours.
Just to make sure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I got to adjust my body so I can screw up the rest of the winter.
So last Saturday I said I got some rain the week before, but actually this week all I can say is I got some damp. Those little scattered showers are, intermittent here and there. Wednesday, Thursday.
Let's hold off on that because I totally agree with you, and we are still way delinquent in moisture. Yes. Let's hit our trivia question because we have to put our new employee Emily Capitano to work. Back on the phones, 382-4280. She will answer. Ask who you are and put you on hold, and then let me know who you are, and then you'll try to win a $20 gift card from Waddell's if you can answer Gary's trivia question correctly which is what now. You're not going to throw her under the same bus you usually throw me under, are you?
Well, it isn't a multi-answer
You
one, so
are.
I just got one
You
single
are.
answer. Well, and this is something I ran across in several locations, and actually some very reputable ones, including a couple extension bulletins. And so I thought it was a neat little trivia fact about oak trees. So my question is what is the ratio or percentage of acorns that actually grow into a mature tree?
That's not a multi-part question.
No, it's a single part question, but people are going to Google and look. So again, what is the ratio or percentage of acorns that actually become an oak tree?
Are you giving a spread?
We'll see if we get some guesses here.
Can we go 5% up and down?
So it's definitely less than 5.
No, I mean a 5% under, 5% above.
I will tell you it's under 1%. Let me give you a big hint here. It's like way under.
Okay.
So we'll see if people can find it because actually it's very, very slim. So oak trees, a standard mature oak tree, typically will produce 2,000 to 5,000 acorns. They will actually produce sometimes as many as 10 million acorns in their lifetime. So they usually start making acorns about when they're 20 years old or so, and reach their peak production between 50 and 80 years of age, and then it starts dropping off a little bit. White oak trees actually have smaller acorns than the red oak trees, so the white oak family, like the bur oak, white oak, swamp white oak, those acorns are a little bit smaller than the red oak, and they also have less tannin in them, so they're more palatable for animals. Native Americans actually used to eat acorns quite frequently. They would, and actually you can eat them. You can make a flour out of the acorns. You want to do is actually put them in boiling water, and when that water gets brown, dump the water off and do it again, and get those tannins out. Once you get all the tannins out, let them dry, and then you can grind them up for a flour.
Okay, let me see if we got if I can remember this trivia question correctly, because we do have a caller. What is the percentage of acorns that fall to the ground that actually become oak trees?
Right, percentage or a ratio. I'll take a ratio.
ratio.
The ratios are the one I usually see in the information that I saw.
Okay, Julius wants to give this a shot. Good morning.
Okay, I'd like to guess 1/100 of 1%.
Oh no, actually it's a lot lower than that.
Oh, there you go.
It's a lot lower than that, Julius.
Try again, Julius. 382-4280. Yeah, the percentage or the ratio of acorns.
Yeah, how many
that
acorns
fall
actually become a
to the
mature
ground.
tree?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised that it was as low as they said. This is sort of it's based on they're doing population estimates of trees and that, and what estimates of how many acorns trees produce.
You know what happens on Saturday morning? People sometimes sleep in. I think Julius is trying to call in again, but my daughter's on it. Yes, she is. Are you back, Julius?
I'd like to make another guess
Yep,
at that thing.
he's back.
1 in 10,000.
Oh, now you got the correct answer, Julius.
What?
1 in 10,000. And that's what I said. What too? I was shocked it was
I
that
just bought an
low.
oak tree from you guys.
Well, you know that makes common sense, because if every acorn that fell to the ground would sprout a tree, we would have lumber forever and ever and ever.
I know it.
Well, yes and no, because they grow
my
slow.
new
So.
oak tree. It's doing well.
But so good job there, Julius. 1 in 10,000. I thought that was so low, just because all those acorns that the squirrels bury and they forget, and they seem like they sprout up. But those little oak trees, there's a lot of, especially now with all the deer that we have come in and browse on them. Rabbits sometimes will show them.
My brother owns a cottage at Crooked Lake Delton Delton, and he has the biggest oak trees, and I go out there and rake them up and bring them home for my squirrels.
Okay, there you go. All right, hey, Julius, can you hang on the line for a moment?
Thank you so much. Enjoy your show.
Well,
Thank you, Julius.
Yeah, we're going to get you a $20 gift card. I'm going to put you on hold, and as we used to say around these parts, send you back through the glass wall. It won't hurt, trust me. And Emily, in a moment, will get all of your information from you, and we'll send you out a $20 gift card. And with that, we'll take this little time out. Nature Watch is back after this on WKZO.
Attention bird lovers! Waddell's Nursery, Florist, and Garden Center's Truckload Birdseed Sale featuring the best deals of the season is going on now. Black oil sunflower seed is just $19.98 for a 50-pound bag. You'll also find Waddell's Elite Bird Blend at the low preseason price of $13.98 and 10-pound bags of Finch's Feast on sale for only $12.98. Your feathered friends need extra energy during colder weather. Get them suet cakes. Their 3 favorites are now on sale for $1.59 each, or get a case of 12 for $18.84. You save more than $7. All bird feeders and houses are now 30% off. And today from 11:30 to 1:30, see a live bald eagle, owl, and hawk from Michigan Avian Experience. Learn more at Waddell's.com. It's the Truckload Birdseed Sale, now through next Wednesday at Waddell's Nursery, Florist, and Garden Center on Texas Drive at the corner of Millam and 12th Street.
Got one of those El Cheapo radios at the office? Don't worry, stream us all day at WKZO.com.
8:43:31 in Kalamazoo. Sun is up, and Nature Watch is on your radio with Gary Miller, Jim Lawless.
Yeah, so we were talking about oak trees, and the tannins in the acorns actually make the acorns taste bitter. So actually, you get that tannin cooked out of there with boiling water and get that water change that will make them taste more of a nutty flavor.
Oh.
If you ingest or eat too many of those acorns without getting the tannins out, you're going to have some toxins blocking your body's ability to absorb nutrients. So it's going to make you sick eventually. So you don't want to eat them. It tastes bitter anyway. The interesting thing with oak trees, if you ever notice, oak trees some years have some acorns and other years they're just like profusely producing acorns. And they go in cycles like that. They call it the mast year, M-A-S-T. And most plants, whether they produce berries or nuts, especially trees, will do sort of a cycle. And every 2 to 3 or maybe every 5 years, they're going to have a year that they have lots and lots of produce at their production. And they do that. They're not sure why. One of the theories is that they do that because the predator population, if they have a consistent production of acorns or nuts or berries, that whatever animals are eating those, their population is going to go up. And pretty soon they're going to start putting so much pressure on those trees and shrubs that probably going to decimate them eventually, because start wiping out the population quite a bit. So what the plants do is every so often they produce extra berries or nuts, and so the critters that will eat them can't eat all of them, and so actually some of those turn into new plants.
Oh, okay.
So good way to do it. It's interesting because they said some studies that they've done, and they haven't done a lot of studies on it, but they've done enough that they say if oaks here in Michigan are producing lots of acorns, and New England are doing the same thing. They seem to be in the same cycle, not only here in North America, but around the world. So if there's a mast year, there's usually a mast year everywhere, which is they're not sure how plants are. They somehow have a calendar that they don't know to do that. Oh, okay. Very, very interesting, I thought.
Oh, okay.
So actually, if you have a very large mature oak tree, they can produce as many as 10,000 acorns. So maybe one of those acorns may become another tree in the future.
Wow. I'll tell you what, if you want to talk to our nature nut, you saw what I did there, 382-4280, area code 269, or if you don't want to talk to either nut in the studio, you can text it to us at 80373. Any nature question whatsoever. Gary, you always say you have that people, friends of yours say, great show, but they don't call.
That's true. Actually, I hear that every week, numerous times. People stop in the store, or I run into them, and say, "Oh, I love your show," and I always encourage them, call in. I want to hear you talk. Other people observe things too, so it's always neat to see. Or you have a question about something,
and you can also bug him during the week, and maybe he'll bring it into the studio on Saturday mornings. You can during the week email Gary with your nature questions at naturewatch@waddells.com.
So a couple interesting things weather-wise this last week, besides not getting much rain here again. There was that 4-letter S word here in Michigan.
Up north, I saw that.
Up north in the Upper Peninsula.
That's fine. That's why they have the North Country in this state.
Actually, a couple of days before that, Hawaii had snow. On the island of Hawaii, Mauna Kea, the mountain had snow on it on October 28th. They actually had snow before Michigan had snow this year.
Yeah.
Which was actually they get snow on some of those volcanic mountains in the islands of Hawaii
Okay.
quite frequently.
Jack in Kalamazoo joins us on WKZO. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jack.
You wanted a question. I've still got probably a dozen tomatoes on my plants. If I've been covering them, and so far they haven't frozen. I haven't checked them this morning yet. How do I encourage them to ripen? If I pick them and bring them in the house, how do I encourage the green ones to continue to ripen?
So actually, some of the critters may be eating those yet, but most of them in that green stage, and you can actually bring them in. Keep covering. The longer they stay in the vine, the better. If you can keep that vine covered,
Of course.
and you can actually bring them in. I know my father-in-law used to wrap them in newspaper. If you have still getting the newspaper, and that tended to keep them from ripening too fast, but they would gradually ripen. A couple of things. I know people can try different things, so I would actually do a search, look at the extension. We usually by the time we get to this point in the year, we've gotten tired of tomatoes, and we usually bring a few in and set them on the counter in the house, and usually get a few of them that ripen yet, but not too much.
I'll give it a try. Thank you very much.
So. Then we got obviously Andy's show because Andy's in hibernation right now, and people are still listening.
You could throw in a gardening question or two if you want. I think Gary can cover it.
Plants are part of nature too. So yeah.
There you go. Jack, thank you. I appreciate it. 382-4280 if you want to talk to Gary about anything nature, or if you have a post growing season question.
So it's actually a neat event going on at Waddell's yesterday and today.
Does it involve birds?
It does involve birds.
I
A
thought
big wild
so.
bird event.
I've been hearing about it all week.
The Michigan Avian Experience has some birds of prey, raptors. They were there yesterday, and we had a huge turnout, fantastic crowd. And they're going to be at the store again today from 11:30 to 1:30. There's also crafts for the kiddos to make from 10 to 2 today. And plus, we got all sorts of specials on bird seed supplies, bird feed, suet, feeders. So if you need that new feeder, want to add another feeder. But it's neat to see all those birds of prey. The Michigan Avian Experience, and a little bird told me last night that might have some owls there today. So if you were there yesterday, you can probably see some different birds today if you happen to come in again.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Michigan Avian Experience, they don't accept any injured wildlife. They do all they do with their sole purpose is education, trying to educate people about raptors. And the Michigan DNR has a list of licensed rehabilitators on its website. So you can actually go to the Michigan DNR, and they have that list. Look for licensed rehabilitators, and they have different species, so different people have different licenses, and depending on what they help animals recover. The Michigan Avian Experience, actually, they get birds. They have a flying area so they can actually get that strength built up. So they do more physical therapy with some birds after they've gone through some rehabilitation, and maybe do that last step before they get released to the wild.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes they're usually educational birds or birds that can't be released because of injuries. And so they use those for educational purposes.
Oh, okay. 382-4280, or you can text 80373 as this person did. Our two chestnut trees and our neighbor's walnut trees have been extra loaded this year. We thought this meant a hard winter. Is this a superstition or? So
that's actually interesting, because that's actually one of the questions that gets asked frequently when we have those mast years. Typically not a sign of a hard winter, but it usually is a sign, sometimes can be a sign of stress. So sometimes stress will create that urge for plants to put more produce out there.
Could that be because of the lack of rain?
Lack of rain this year. We had a very long growing season and very dry, and so that would be one reason why those trees would have produced a lot more nut this year.
Okay.
This maybe, I know last year was definitely a mast year. I haven't seen too much this year that they've decided, and there's no hard definition. Basically, they say if it's a mast year, you'll know when you start tripping over all the nuts in the yard.
There you go.
So most likely because of stress and being dry. We'll probably see that again next year, just because they've come through a dry year. Typically, plants, if they're not sure they're going to make it through a really dry period, they're going to say, okay, I'm going to put some more nuts and young out there, get some more young out there, or some more berries, and maybe they'll survive if I don't. obviously acorns got 1 in 10,000 chance.
Right. I don't know. I'm sure that we still have maybe one mow left. I would rake.
Yeah.
There you go.
Actually, the weather, looks actually seasonal for the next 2 weeks. So not super cold.
Okay. Another text to 80373. Why does my home / property seem to be infested with stink bugs, box elder bugs, and ladybugs?
They're looking for someplace warm to overwinter. And, there's this nice structure with heat all winter. We're going to move in there. And it's easy to get in there because we're really small, especially the stink bugs. The box elder bugs typically will just find a nice nook like under siding or something, or sometimes under a piece of bark on a tree even, and sort of get their mass and just sort of go into hibernation, but have that sort of protected area. We'll come into the house sometimes. Brown marmorated stink bugs, however, they're so flat they can squeeze through really small openings, and they like coming in the heat for the winter, as do the ladybugs. So they want to come in someplace warm that can survive the winter, and just that sort of nuisance sometimes flying around.
Yeah. You can also call in if you want. We do have a few minutes left, 382-4280. I don't have to leave my chair because someone is in master control this morning, Emily. So if you want to call her and let her know about the question and where you're from, and we'll put you on air just like that.
So, different feeders for birds. We talked a little bit last week about some of the different foods for birds and that. Probably the most common feeder for birds that most people use is a type of hopper feeder. If you have some of those ground birds at the tray or platform feeder, sometimes even suspended up a little bit or on legs, helps keep that seed off the bird seed and feed off the ground, keeps it a little drier. Those birds that tend to more browse or graze on the ground would like those tray feeders. Suet feeders, those always work good for getting especially the woodpeckers, flickers in, nuthatches, titmice. Actually, blue jays will sometimes eat that. You usually get some starlings that come in occasionally when they're migrating through. My experience with suet feeders is that I've used different types. I have one that I have a hopper feeder that has a spot on each end of it for suet cakes, and that actually seems to work really good. The birds don't mind each other typically, except the blue jays try to chase everybody away. And the red-bellied woodpecker typically comes in and chases the blue jays away. I actually had some of the simple suet cake holders on a little wire cage and hang it from a branch. Went through several of them, even tried locking them down, and between the squirrels and I think more likely raccoons, they would knock them down and take them away somewhere. So somewhere near my house, there are suet feeders, those simple suet feeders that were buried at some point or left someplace by the animals because I could never find them. I have some really, some really animals that really want to get even with me, I guess, occasionally, because several years ago I broke down and got my wife a plastic sprinkling can. She didn't like lugging my old-fashioned galvanized one, which I like because they last forever. And she thought it was too heavy, so I got her a nice plastic one. We didn't have it more than about a month and a half, and some animal came in and not only unscrewed the little sprinkling head on it, but took it away. And we've never found it. That was several years ago. Huh. I have no idea. I'm guessing probably a raccoon or something, and then maybe a crow or something picked it up. He's like, oh, this is a neat object. I have no idea where it went. This last week, I had another interesting experience. I made some cages around my chestnut trees and my white fringe tree because the deer keep browsing on them. And so I made some big cages out of woven wire fence that I had, and they're 4 foot diameter. And I hadn't staked them down yet, but I had put them there. And last Sunday, I was out in the yard, and the one around the fringe tree was totally gone. I'm like, okay. It was windy, but it wasn't that windy because they're not going to blow that cage anywhere.
Right.
Looked out in the field, looked in the yard, looked at the tree line, could not find it anywhere. It was way in the back of the field, so I'm not sure if the deer took it all the way in the back or they were actually sprayed my field to knock the plants back for the winter to do some no-till in the spring. And so they might have caught it with a boom, but I'm guessing the deer took it towards the back of the field. Otherwise, I was thinking there's going to be some deer out there with this wire cage around them running around.
There you go. Last second calls and texts 382-428-80373 on the text. Can't talk.
You need some more coffee, Jim.
I'm glad to actually stomach it because I had a bug going around this last week, and it kind of took my stomach for a wild ride. But this morning, the Colombian coffee is going down well.
So some of the other feeders, besides those suet feeders, you get the separate feeders. The ones that are upside down, so the birds have to hang upside down to feed on the, tend to keep the starlings and some of those nuisance birds away from those suet cake feeders. Tube feeders are also very popular, especially for you get some of that small seed for finches like the thistle or like a finch's feast mix, and the birds like that. But they actually work well for even like black oil on that. Just need to get different opening sizes for that seed to come through.
Okay.
But it's nice to have a nice assortment of feeders, and you can get quite an assortment of birds, I know, and sometimes in the winter, especially when we've had snow for a while, so they can't graze or browse out in the wild much anymore. Birds appreciate that, especially when it gets cold, and seeing large numbers of birds around the feeders is actually very entertaining. You get an occasional sunny morning and look out there and see. I've actually had in years past sometimes had enough seed that the blue jays had knocked down that the mourning doves came in and cleaned up, and I remember having like 30 some mourning doves either in branches or on the ground around, plus all the feeders, lots of juncos, and so just a neat assortment of birds.
His work shirt's on, so he's there today, and it's a wild bird sale.
Yes, and actually come in and look at this. See the owls. I believe they're going to have owls there today from Michigan Avian Experience. So
there you
that'll
go.
be fun little educational thing for the kids and the adults. So we're all kids, and it's nice to always learn.
And why I come in this building on Saturday mornings, I learned something. There you go. Thank you for your calls and your texts, Gary. Thank you. Do appreciate it. And thank you for listening to this edition of Nature Watch. Tune in each Saturday at 8:30 for Nature Watch. Brought to you by Waddell's Nursery, Floral, Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Millam Road. CBS and local news is next, and then American Outdoors Radio, right here on 590 and 106.9 FM WKZO.